Scene 7. Hold on. Scene 7. Ready?
Wait, did you click record on phone?
Yeah, I pressed record. Wait. Yeah. An object in motion will remain in motion, and an object at rest will remain at rest unless acted upon by force. Which means an object is moving in a straight line. It will continue to move in a straight line unless an outside force turns on it. Whenever you see something turning, there is a net external force acting on it. That's why at any given moment, the velocity of an object moving in a circle will be tangent to it. Without a force to turn it, it would just fly in that one direction. Now we can finally talk about the mysterious force that was accelerated the object, which changes the direction of its velocity. This is the same reason roller coasters stay on the track during a loop. In fact, it's a reason why anything moves in a circle. This is known as centrifugal acceleration. The important thing about this force is that it will always point towards the center of the circular path. This makes sense if you think about it. The object is only turning in circles because your hand is pointing towards the center. Put yourself in a car turning. There should be a centrifugal acceleration pulling you towards the middle, but it feels like you're being pushed outwards. People often call this centrifugal force. It is not real. People confuse these two forces because of the frame of reference. Sure this. You are in a playground merry-go-round while the thing spins, it forces you to move in a circle. As your body is being pushed against the bar to prevent you from flying away, the bar is actually pulling you towards the center of the circle. From your point of view, you're being pushed against the bar as if there was a centrifugal force acting on it. Okay, let me say that again.
Yeah, I messed up on this one thing too.
I don't even know what you're doing. I look up and you're laying down. The battery's like at 69%. So I'll pop it into the charger during the Scene 8. Scene 8. An object in motion will remain in motion, and the object at rest will remain at rest unless acted upon by a force. Which means if an object is moving in a straight line, it will continue to move in a straight line unless an outside force turns on it. Whenever you see something turning, there's a net external force acting on it. That's why at any given moment, the velocity of an object moving in a circle will be tangent to it. Without a force to turn it, it would just fly in one direction. Now we can finally talk about the mysterious force that was accelerated the object, which changes the direction of its velocity. This is the same reason why roller coasters stay on their track during the loop. In fact, it's a reason why anything moves in a circle. This is known as centrifugal acceleration. The important thing about this force is that it is always pointing to the center of the circle. Ugh. That's up. I need to change the batteries too. Hold on. It's at 1 bar.
Oh.
So I have an extra battery packed.
Nice. Did you pause the recording? Video.
Yeah. Scene 9, so they didn't delete the last recording. It's recording? Yeah. An object in motion will remain in motion, and an object at rest will remain at rest unless acted upon by force, which means if an object is moving in a straight line, it will continue to move in a straight line unless an outside force turns on it. Whenever you see something turning, there's a net external force acting on it. That's why at any given moment, the velocity of an object moving in a circle will be tangent to it. Without a force to turn it, it would just fly in that one direction. Now we can finally talk about the mysterious force that accelerates the object, which changes the direction of its velocity. It's the same reason why roller coasters stay on the track during the loop. In fact, it's the reason why anything moves in a circle. This is known as centrifugal acceleration. The important thing about this force is that it only points to the center of its circular path. This makes sense if you think about it. The object is only turning in circles because your hand is pointing towards the center. Now picture yourself in a car turning. There should be a centripetal acceleration pulling you towards the middle, so it feels like you're being pushed outward. People often but it's not real. The reason why people confuse these two forces is because of their frame of reference. Picture this. You are on a playground merry-go-round thing, and while the thing spins, it forces you to move in a circle. As your body is being pushed against the bars to prevent you from falling away, the bar is actually pulling you towards the center of the circle. And you're pointing being pushed against the bar as if there's centrifugal force acting on you. Okay, let's do it one more. I think that was good. Let's do it one more time though.
Wait. In the camera, do you see me over here?
Wait, lay down.
Because I was supposed to stand on that side, but I keep forgetting what thing is stand over here.
Wait, so lay down where you were?
I mean, obviously, I don't think you can see me like
I can see you.
Oh.
Okay, C9 again. C9. An object in motion will remain in motion, while an object at rest will remain at rest until accelerated. Wait, back, go back. Let it begin. Next. Hold on. Yeah. C8? Okay, C9 continue. Okay. An object in motion will remain in motion, and an object at rest will remain at rest unless acted upon by a force. Which means if the object is moving in a straight line, it will continue to move in a straight line unless acted upon by an outside force. Wait, see it. Okay, I messed it up. I said the same thing twice. 10. An object in motion will remain in motion, and an object at rest will remain at rest unless acted upon by a force. Which means if an object is moving in a straight line, it will continue to move in a straight line unless an outside force turns on it. Whenever you see something turning, there's a net external force acting on it. That's why at any given moment, the velocity of an object moving in a circle will be tangent to it. If not a force is turning, it would just fly in one direction. Now we can finally talk about the mysterious force that accelerates the object, which also changes the direction of its velocity. This is the same reason why roller coasters stay on their tracks are moving. In fact, it's the reason why anything moves in a circle. This is known as centripetal acceleration. The important thing about this force is that it always points to the center of a circular path. This makes sense if you think about it. The object is only turning in circles because the center is pulling it towards the center, towards the middle. Should we just use that first one?
The first one, yeah.
Okay. I want to get 2 though. Okay, one more time. And if I don't get it, we're just gonna go for lunch. Okay. Okay. What?
Okay.
What are we gonna add?
I was about to say something like, you could just like pause in the middle.
And then speak from there? Okay, yeah, sure, let's do that.
So like cut, how do I make the video look cut goodly?
Well, mine just pause it like in the audio and just get the second part and just paste it in there by itself.
Okay.
But I don't want to do that.
I think I lost it.
Okay.
Except like the audio might be like a little bit longer than the video or like shorter than the video. Actually, it's fine. I'm just gonna be laying down. I mean,
You know what? Let's just try to keep it one shot. Make this stuff work.
I'll try to take out the part.
Part 10 again. Object in motion will remain in motion, and object at rest will remain at rest unless acted upon by a force. Which means if an object is moving in a straight line, it continues to move in a straight line unless an outside force turns on it. Whenever you see something turning, there's a net force. That's why it's called centrifugal force. It is not real. The reason people confuse these forces is because of their frame of reference. Picture this. You're in a playground merry-go-round thing. While the thing spins, it forces you to move in a circle. As the body is being pushed against the bar to prevent you from falling away. The bar is actually pulling you to the center of the circle. But from your frame of reference, you're being pushed against the bar as if there is centrifugal force acting on you. Okay, we're done. So we have 4 minutes. Almost.
4 minutes?
We need 3 minutes still. The heck?
Yes, I know.
Okay, ready to go
That's
for
one
lunch?
of like 3 scenes, or 3 main chunks. So,
I feel like we're gonna get to maybe 5:30. So then we
Yeah.
need like a minute and a half or something. Okay. Let's go home and get some lunch. Battery's at 43. Ready?
Yeah.
So how do we find the amount of force an object experiences? We will use the formula for centripetal acceleration, v squared over r. In order to solve this formula, we need the velocity and radius. We can find the radius easily by measuring it with a ruler. To find the velocity, we need to find the revolutions per second and circumference. Revolutions per second can be found by using the total amount of revolutions, in this case 22 revolutions in the time frame of 25 seconds, which equates to 0.94 revolutions per second. Then we find the circumference. We need to use a formula 2 pi r. Once we multiply the circumference by the rotations per second, we find out the velocity to be 5.78 meters per second. To find the centripetal acceleration, we square the velocity and divide by the radius, which was 1 meter. Making the centripetal acceleration 33.41 meters per second squared. To find the centripetal acceleration, we have to multiply the mass 0.3 kilograms to the rotational acceleration 33.41 meters per second squared, putting us at 10.02 newtons when ignoring the mass of the string and tape. Wait, okay. Scene 11. So how do we find the amount of force an object experiences? We will use the formula for centripetal acceleration, v squared over r. In order to solve this formula, we need the velocity and radius. We can find the radius easily by measuring it with a ruler. Oh shoot, you want me to do that?
yeah.
Sorry. Scene 11 replacement, scene 11 replacement. Okay. So how do we find the amount of force an object experiences? We will use the formula for centripetal acceleration, v squared over r. In order to solve this formula, we need the velocity and radius. Shoot. Okay. Yeah. Scene 11, take 2. So how do we find the amount of force an object experiences? We will use the formula for centripetal acceleration, v squared over r. In order to solve this formula, we need the velocity and radius. We can find the radius easily by measuring it. Oh shoot.
Yeah, I kind of messed up too.
Okay. Scene 11, take 3. So how do we find the amount of force an object experiences? We will use the formula for centripetal acceleration, v squared over r. In order to solve this formula, we'll need the velocity and radius. We can find the velocity. Oh shoot. I'm like 11, take 4. So how do we find the amount of force an object experiences? We will use the formula for centripetal acceleration, v squared over r. In order to solve this formula, we need the velocity and radius.
I messed up.
Okay. Okay, scene 11 take 5. So how do we find the amount of force an object experiences? We will use the formula for centripetal acceleration, v squared over r. In order to solve this formula, we need the velocity and radius.
Gosh.
Like, what are you screwing up?
Well, we need the velocity and radius. For some reason, it's gotten a habit that I automatically go to v. Velocity equals to blah 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 blah. I keep skipping a step.
Okay, just like here, do it back. 11 take 6. So how do we find the amount of force an object experiences? We will use the formula for centripetal acceleration, v squared over r. In order to solve this formula, we need the velocity and radius. Oh, shoot. Okay. 11 take... shoot. 11 take 7? So how do we find the amount of force an object experiences? We will need to use the formula for centripetal acceleration, v squared over r. In order to solve this formula, we need the velocity and radius. We can find the velocity is radius. 11, 8. So how do we find the amount of force an object experiences? We will use the formula for centripetal acceleration, v squared over r. In order to solve this formula, we need the velocity and radius. We can find the radius easily by just measuring it with a ruler. To find the velocity, we need to find revolutions per second and circumference. Revolutions per second can be found by using the total amount of revolutions, in this case 22 revolutions, in the time frame of 25 seconds, which equates to 0.94 revolutions per second. Then to find the circumference, we need to use the formula 2 pi r. Once we multiply the circumference by the rotations per second, we find the velocity to be 5.78 meters per second. Now to find the centripetal acceleration, we square the velocity and divide it by the radius, which is 1 meter, making the centripetal acceleration 33.41 meters per second squared. To find the centripetal acceleration, we have to multiply the mass 0.3 kilograms to the rotational acceleration 33.41 meters per second squared. This puts us at 10.02 newtons when ignoring the mass of the string and tape. Thumbs up. I feel like it's not in the frame. Like, do over the problem. Like that, kind of. Cool. Let's do one more take. One was good for either one of us perspective. Okay. So how do we find the amount of force an object experiences? We will use the formula for centripetal acceleration, v squared over r. In order to solve this formula, we need the velocity and radius. We can find the radius easily by measuring it with a ruler. To find the velocity, we need to find revolutions per second and circumference. Revolutions per second can be found by using the total amount of revolutions, in this case 23 revolutions, in the time frame of 25 seconds, which equates to 0.94 revolutions per second. Then to find the circumference, we need to use the formula 2 pi r. Once we multiply the circumference by the rotations per second, we find out the velocity to be 5.78 meters per second.
Wait, can we restart?
Yep. 11:10? 11:10? Okay. So how do we find the amount of force an object experiences? We will use the formula for centripetal acceleration, v squared over r. In order to solve this formula, we need the velocity and radius. We can find the radius easily by measuring it with a ruler.
Darn it! Oh, I didn't have to roller.
Oh, shoot. Scene 12. Okay. Okay. So. See how awkward? Maybe we should put it up there because we're kind of looking at the camera.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can you get the clipboard again?
No, we'll just take it. There's no man here. The lighting is kind of weird because there's a shadow behind you. It's fine.
Can you like put it closer while like zooming out the camera?
What do you mean?
It's too far.
This?
Yeah.
Where do you want to
Actually,
put it?
no. I can wait. I mean, we learned that the weird path or the weird push you feel in the car turning is called centrifugal force, and the centrifugal force does not exist. Can you like zoom out the camera a little more or something?
You can zoom it out.
Like
Oh,
zoom
put it
out
closer?
so you can put it closer. Yeah.
Got it. What about now? Better?
Yeah, it's really good.
Okay. So recording. Scene 13. Press it again. Is it recording?
Scene 13. Yep.
Okay,
It's time to
put
record.
upside down, so. It's my line. So what did we learn today, Daniel?
But this was a waste of time.
What?
I mean, we learned that weird push you feel in the car turning is called centrifugal force, and that centrifugal force does not really exist. We also learned the differences between centripetal force and centripetal force. Okay. Okay, the differences between centrifugal, centrifugal,
14.
Centrifugal.
Okay. 13? 13?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what did we learn today, Daniel?
We learned that. Okay,
Okay, just go again. So what did we learn today, Daniel?
this was a waste of time.
What?
I mean, we learned that the weird push you feel in the car turning is called centripetal force, and the centrifugal force does not exist. We learned the differences between centripetal and the unreal centrifugal force. We learned that centrifugal force is a apparent force and is not real. What you are feeling is actually inertia. Also, if the bond between objects were to disappear, the circling object will fly in the tangential velocity.
Don't forget that we also solved for centripetal physics problem. Every day we find ourselves encountering mysterious phenomenon. Every day we witness events that seem too complex to comprehend, when in reality they can be boiled down to a series of simple equations. Whether it's an object falling or a car accelerating, all of our simple questions highlight how strange our world is. Straightforward. But you don't have to yell because they can pick it up pretty well.
What do you want me to yell?
Like you're talking kind of loud, they'll pick you up.
Oh,
You do that again.
talk louder?
I was thinking you don't have to talk like loud because the thing is like right next to you.
Oh. Was I talking loud?
Because she's putting that in the sleep. Get 14 again. 14 again. Water break. Do re mi fa.
Okay, go.
Okay. So what did we learn today, Daniel?
But this was a waste of time.
What?
I mean, we learned that the weird push you feel in the car turning is called centripetal force, and centrifugal force does not really exist. We learned the differences between centripetal force and the unreal centrifugal force. We learned that centrifugal force is an apparent force and it's not real. And what you feel is inertia. Also, the bond between objects were to disappear, the circling object would fly in its tangential velocity.
Don't forget that we also solved for a centripetal physics problem. Every day we find ourselves encountering mysterious phenomena. I wish I could just like control my phone, but I can't.
Yeah.
Maybe I can actually. Let me try. I think called Sony Play. Ooh. Ooh. Oh.
Well, it's gonna be like for
No, I think
like Sony TVs.
no. I use this as my other phone, but I only remember being able to.
Okay. Pause that one too.
Scene 13. Yes. Oh no. Okay, 13. So what do we learn today, Daniel?
But this was a waste of time.
What?
I mean, we learned the weird push you feel in the car turning is called centripetal force, and then centrifugal force does not really exist. We learned the differences between centripetal and the unreal centrifugal force. We learned that centrifugal force is apparent force and is not real. What you are feeling is inertia.
I did it again?
Yeah,
Okay. So what do we learn today, Daniel?
but this was a waste of time.
What?
I mean, we learned the weird push you feel in the car turning is called centripetal force, and that centrifugal force does not.
DM?
Yeah,
So what do we learn today, Daniel?
but this was a waste of time.
What?
I mean, we learned the weird push you feel in the car turning is called centripetal force, and that centrifugal force does not exist. We learned the differences between centrifugal force and it switched order.
So what do we learn today, Daniel?
But this was a waste of time.
What?
I mean, we learned the weird push you feel in the car turning is called centripetal force, and that centrifugal force does not really exist. We learned the differences between centripetal force and the unreal centrifugal force. We learned that centrifugal force is not an apparent force, and it's not real. What you are feeling is inertia. Also, the bond.
You want to do a practice? Just
Yeah.
like go freehand. Like say that big line.
I mean, we learned that the weird push you feel in the car turning is called centripetal force, and that centrifugal force does not really exist. We learned the differences between centripetal and the unreal centrifugal force. We learned that centrifugal force is an apparent force and is not real. What you are feeling is inertia, and if the bond between objects were to disappear, the circling object would fly in its tangential velocity. Okay.
You know what? Okay, for the last scene, for like the last thing of text, where it says tune in next time from the. Do you want to do it when we switch off? So it's like you say tune in, and then I say make sure.
Sure.
He's gonna fall back asleep.
Sorry, it's my fault. Our fault.
No. Why is it your fault?
Because he usually goes to bed at 8, and it's 8 exactly. Okay, so you want to switch off. Do you want to have it so one of us says the entire last thing, or do you want to switch off? So like I say, tune next time, or how about this? If I say that last paragraph, right? Then you say, tune next time for another episode of Smarter Every Other Day. And then you say, make sure to leave a like, comment, subscribe, and I say, then I'll say, you can check out our bloopers like right around here.
Oh yeah, actually instead of that line, we could say like, oh, if you're curious about all of these
Papers.
papers,
Check out our bloopers.
yeah, you could check out our bloopers right around here.
Okay, so I'm gonna say that top part, the first line. But no, you're gonna say the first line, and I say second, and you say third.
Okay, if you're curious about these papers over here.
Okay, ready? So do we learn? Wait. So what did we learn today, Daniel?
But this was a waste of time.
What?
Oh, I mean, we learned that the weird push you feel in the car turning is called centripetal force, and then the centrifugal force does not really exist. We learned the differences between centripetal force and the unreal centrifugal force. We learned that centrifugal force is an apparent force, thus not real. And what you are feeling is inertia.
Read it again?
Is this recording stuff?
Yeah, it's been like 5 minutes.
Oh, sorry.
Oh.
Mother!
I didn't know you were recording.
Dude, why are we talking?
Sorry.
We're talking to,
I thought you were talking to each other.
he's looking
Can
straight
you edit
forward.
that?
Yeah, yeah.
Sorry.
Can you hurry up and we'll...
Can you go?
I'm waiting for you to go. Or he's gonna be walking.
I guess we should just talk louder than
I
loud.
live here.
I know, but how often do I do projects?
Let's
I
practice.
worked all day.
I mean, we learned that the weird
You worked all day,
fuel
it's Sunday.
in a car is called centrifugal.
You mean you didn't what normal families do?
And that centrifugal force does not really exist.
I've been working all day too.
Between centripetal force and the unreal centrifugal force. We learned that centrifugal force is an apparent force and it's not real. If ever I'm talking too fast, I feel like it's not gonna make that time. I'll talk slower.
Thanks, Mom.
Oh my gosh, I know, I can't.
I'm saying thanks for the suggestion.
Be in the kitchen? Where am I supposed to go?
So you gonna do the in the beginning again? I mean...
Oh yeah. I mean that the weird push you
Okay,
feel.
yeah.
I'll just
And let's try the last one again. It's like the last sentence, first to the last paragraph.
tune in next time for another episode of Smarter Every Other Day.
Make sure to leave a like, comment, subscribe, and like you didn't put it.
How much work do you have? Because Matthew's downstairs soon.
I'm sorry?
I'm going to tell Matthew to be quiet. You don't mind that everything is open? There could be noise outside.
There's more noise coming from the living room than outside.
I'm so hungry.
So we're going to point for bloopers. Like right here.
There, go down.
Yeah, I'm gonna just point middle. It doesn't seem like there's so much space up here or sides, so. So I guess yes, somewhere here. So I guess tune in next time for another episode of Smarter Every Other Day.
Get ready.
Okay.
So what did we learn today, Daniel?
That this was a waste of time.
What?
I mean, we learned that the weird push you feel in a car turning is actually called centripetal force, and that centrifugal force does not really exist. We learned the differences between centripetal force and the unreal centrifugal force. We learned that centrifugal force is an apparent force, thus not real. What you are actually feeling is inertia. Also, the bond between objects were to disappear, the circling object would fly in its tangential velocity.
Don't forget that we also solve for a centripetal physics problem. Every day we find ourselves encountering mysterious phenomena. Every day we witness events that seem too complex to comprehend, when in reality they can always be boiled down to a series of simple equations, whether it's an object falling or a car accelerating. All of our questions simply highlights how our strange world is not as straightforward as we think.
Tune in next time for another episode of Smarter Every Other Day.
Make sure to leave a like, comment, subscribe, and favorite.
If you're curious about all these papers on this table, make sure to click on our bloopers right here.
So we're gonna do that one more time?
Yeah, I guess.
Is it still recording? Yeah. Set up 8 minutes.
8 minutes. I guess it's the long one.
8 minutes here too. 14. Yes. Press it. Doing?
Oh yeah. It's going on.
So what did we learn today, Daniel?
That this was a waste of time.
What?
Oh, I mean we learned that the weird push you feel in the car turning is actually called centripetal force, and then that centrifugal force does not really exist. We learned the differences between centripetal force and then the unreal centrifugal force. does not really exist.
Read it again.
Yeah.
Okay. So what did we learn today, Daniel?
But this was a waste of time.
What?
Oh, I mean that we learned the weird push you feel in the car turning is called centripetal force, and that centripetal force does not really exist. We learned the differences between centripetal force and the unreal centrifugal force. We learned that centrifugal force is an apparent force, and it's not real. What you are actually feeling is called inertia. Also, if the bond between objects were to disappear, the circling object will fly in its tangential velocity.
Don't forget that we also solved for a centripetal physics problem. Every day we find ourselves encountering mysterious phenomenon. Every day we witness events that seem too complex to comprehend, when in reality they can always be boiled down to a series of simple equations, whether it's an object falling or a car accelerating. All of our questions simply highlights how strange our world is not as straightforward as we think.
Tune in next time on another episode of Smarter Every Other Day.
Make sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe.
You can check out our bloopers if you're curious about these papers on our desk.
You want to do it again?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just go with it.
How long is this? Let's see. A minute, 50 seconds.
Okay.
Is that more than enough?
Yeah, that's more than
Now the object. How do we find the acceleration an object experiences?
What? Oh, say it again,
How do we find the
okay, like, calm down first, like, okay.
How do we find the acceleration an object experiences?
Can you say it like how we find the, okay, one more time.
How do we find the How do we find the acceleration an object experiences?
I just ruined.
Hey guys, it's Daniel here. Okay, let's do it again. Let's go. Hey guys, it's Daniel here.
Hey, it's Andrew here,
And welcome back to Smarter Every Other Day. Hey guys, it's Daniel.
It's Andrew,
And welcome back to Smarter Every Other Day.
Okay, good. Now, this is like a, no, sorry, just, okay, let's try.
Okay, you know that feeling.
Okay, let's do that again.
Gums in the way. Okay. You feel that? Wait, okay, one more time. Okay. You know that feeling when your body is being pushed to the side of your car as you make your way around the ramp? You probably think you are being pushed away from the center, but is that what is actually happening? It turns out, no pun intended, you are actually accelerating towards the center of the circle. Weird, huh? You see, mass has to accelerate towards the center it moves around. Wait, we're walking way too slowly.
Okay, let's,
What does the video look like? Every single scene we take takes so long, the sun's gonna be in different positions every
that's
scene.
fine. Okay, ready?
Okay.
Get your poker face on.
Poker face, okay. Wait, what did you just sit on the gum?
Oh, there's a trash can I put in there.
You know that feeling when your body is being pushed? Feels
Go
too
again.
far.
Sorry.
You know that feeling when your body is being pushed to the side of your car as you make your way around the ramp? You probably think you are being pushed away from the center, but that is not what is actually happening. It turns out, no pun intended, you are actually accelerating towards the center of the circle. Weird, huh? You see, mass has to accelerate towards the center and moves around in order to compensate for the system's net force. As velocity is constantly changing, acceleration is present. Doesn't have to be professional.
Okay, ready?
You know that feeling when your body is being pushed to the side of your car as you make your way around the ramp? You probably think you are being pushed away from the center, but that is not what is actually happening. Sorry.
It's fine.
Walk slower over here because this part seems to be the fastest.
Okay.
You know that feeling when your body is being pushed to the side of your car as you make your way around the ramp? You probably think you are being pushed away from the center, but that is not what is actually happening. It turns out, no pun intended, you are actually accelerating towards the center of the circle. Weird, huh? You see, Mass has to accelerate towards the center and moves around in order to compensate for the system's net force. As velocity is constantly changing, acceleration is present. You know that feeling?
Good. Hold on. The wind's like blowing the thing up. Okay, ready? Set.
You know that feeling when your body is being pushed against the side of your car as you make your way around the ramp?
Okay, let's just go again. I'm not gonna. Okay. Don't press. Okay. No, not yet. So.
Oh, it's not recording.
Okay. You see it? Script. Am I covering it? I'm covering it, am I? Yeah.
You know that feeling when your body is being... You know that feeling when your body is being pushed against the side of your car as you make your way around the ramp? You probably think you are being pushed away from the center, but that is not what is actually happening. It turns out, no pun intended, you are actually accelerating towards the center of the circle. Weird, huh? You see, mass has the tendency to always constantly be changing.
How about I go?
You know that feeling when your body is being pushed to the side of your car as you make your way?
Okay.
I just talked. You know that feeling when your body is being pushed to the side of your car? You see, when mass propagates in one direction, it will resist the urge to change its direction. This push we feel...
Oh, we need it again, sorry.
You see, when mass propagates in one direction, it will resist the urge to change its direction. This push we feel is not a force, but rather our body's resistance to change motion, also known as centrifugal force. Its formula being Fc=v²/r.
That was pretty good in the last line. Let's do it again though. Go.
You see, when mass propagates in one direction, it will resist its urge to change its direction. This push we feel is not a force, but rather our body's resistance to change direction, also known as centrifugal force. Its formula being Fc=mc.
Okay.
You see, when mass propagates in one direction, it will resist its urge to change its direction. This push we feel is not a force, but rather our body's resistance to change direction, also known as centrifugal force. Its formula being Fc=mv²/r. You see, when mass propagates in one direction, it will resist its urge to change its direction. This push we feel is not a force, but rather our body's resistance to change direction, also known as centrifugal force.
Don't do that.
You see, when mass propagates in one direction, it will resist its urge to change its direction. This push we feel is not a force, but rather our body's resistance to change direction, also known as centrifugal force. Its formula being Fc=mv²/r. You see, when mass propagates in one direction, it will resist its urge to change its direction. This push we feel is not a force, but rather our body's resistance to change direction. It is known as centrifugal force. Its formula being Fc=mv²/r. This can also be found on roller coasters when the car turns and when the sun revolves around.
Scene 4.
Scene 4. But how do we find the amount of acceleration an object experiences?
Do it one more time.
But how do we find the amount of acceleration an object experiences?
Oh crap. Okay, one more time.
But how do we find the amount of acceleration an object experiences?
Okay, one more time. Okay.
But how do we find the amount of acceleration an object experiences?
Scene 1.
Scene 1. But how do we find the amount of acceleration an object experiences?
Okay, again.
But how do we... Okay. But how do we... So, what was it? How do we find... But how do we find the amount of acceleration an object experiences?
We should do it one more time just because.
But how do we find the amount of acceleration an object experiences?
Okay, you want to see? Scene 2. Oh shoot, zoomed in a little bit. Okay, scene 2. And just gonna look at the camera, I guess.
I guess so.
Okay. Great question, Daniel. In order to find the amount of acceleration, this. Yeah. Scene 3, I guess. Okay. The object experiences, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Great question, Daniel. In order to find the amount of acceleration. Great question, Daniel. In order to find. I'm gonna stand up and like be on the camera. Okay. Great question, Daniel. In order to find the amount of acceleration the object experiences, we need to know the equations. Like other forms of motion, uniform acceleration. Okay, okay. Let's just like not record this. Scene 4, again. Oh, be comfortable. Yeah. Ready? Great question, Daniel. In order to find the amount of acceleration the object experiences, we need to know the equations. Like other kinds of motion, uniform circular motion has 4 main qualities: time, position, velocity, and acceleration. Of these 4 main qualities, position is the most obvious. It's basically an object on a circular path. Velocity tells you how fast the object is moving and its direction. And that direction is not along the path of the circle. It is actually perpendicular to the radius of the circle. In other words, the tangent. The tangent is when a line only touches on a point of a circle. Some cool things about physics is that you can just try this out at your home for yourself. Here's a quick science experiment to find tangential velocity. All you need is a string and some weight to tie on its end. Here we'll use a monkey fist. You should also do this in a large open space to make sure no one gets hurt. Quickly turn the string so it starts to move clockwise, perpendicular to the ground. If you let go when the object is at its highest point, the object flies to the right. Reasons behind this movement is Newton's law of motion.
Were those leaves too loud?
No, it's fine. Let's see. 1 minute. No. Wait.
Throwing leaves doesn't go anywhere.
Okay, it's like 1 minute and 6 seconds. Should I take longer? Probably, right?
So we need 7 minutes. We already have 2 minutes. And we're done with the first page.
I'll go a little bit slower.
Yeah, just slower. Maybe just aim for 1:25 or 30. But also, what do you want me to do when you're talking about like, oh, time does this, position does this, acceleration does this? Oh, because it's really, I stay still for like 30 seconds.
Can we find like a GIF image online, like post that in the video? To be
Yeah.
looking also like
I could
like yeah. Sound good?
Yeah.
Please wait for this person to pass by. Is it still recording? I think it is. Wow, 3 minutes. We only have 11 hours, 26 minutes. See that?
Yeah, you put in your 256 here.
No.
What is
Scene 3. Hold up. Great question, Daniel. Great question, Daniel. In order to find the amount of acceleration the object experiences, we need to know the equations. Like other kinds of motion, uniform circular motion has 4 main qualities: time, position, velocity.
Oh, I'm sorry, can we do that again? I forgot to look.
Oh, it's fine. Scene 4, or scene 3. Scene 3. Great question, Daniel. In order to find the amount of acceleration the object experiences, we need to know the equations. Like other kinds of motion, uniform circular motion has four main qualities: time, position, velocity, and acceleration. Of these four main qualities, position is the most obvious. It's basically an object on a circular path. Velocity tells you how fast the object is moving and its direction, and that direction is not along the circular path. Shoot up. Again. Great question, Daniel. In order to find the amount of acceleration the object experiences, we need to know the equations. Like other kinds of motion, uniform circular motion has four main qualities: time, position, velocity, and acceleration. Of these four main qualities, position is the most obvious. It's basically an object on a circular path. Velocity tells you how fast the object is moving and its direction. That direction is not along the path of the circle. It's actually perpendicular to the radius of the circle. In other words, tangent is when a line only touches one point of the circle. Some cool things about physics is that you can just try this out at your home for yourself. Here's a quick science experiment to see the tangential velocity. All you need is a string and some weight to tie on its end. Here we'll use a monkey fist. You should also do this in a large open space to make sure nobody gets hurt. Quickly turn the string so it starts to move clockwise, perpendicular to the ground. If you let go when the object is at its highest point, the object flies to the right. Reasons behind this movement is Newton's law of motion. Okay, that's 110. I'm gonna try again. Scene, I lost count. Scene 5. 5. Scene 5. Great question, Daniel. In order to find the amount of acceleration the object experiences, we need to know the equations. Like other kinds of motion, uniform circular motion has four main qualities: time, position, velocity, and acceleration. Of these four main qualities, position is the most obvious. It's basically an object on a circular path. Velocity tells you how fast the object is moving and its direction, and that direction is not along the path of the circle, but it's actually perpendicular to the radius of the circle. In other words, the tangent. A tangent is when a line only touches one point of a circle. Some cool things about physics is that you can just try this out at your home for yourself. Here is a quick science experiment to see tangential velocity. All you need is a string and some weight to tie on its end. Here we'll use a monkey fist. You should also do this in a large open space to make sure nobody gets hurt. Quickly turn the string so it starts to move clockwise, perpendicular to the ground. If you let go when the object is at its highest point, the object flies to the right. The reasons behind this movement is Newton's laws of motion. Keep on getting 110. Try one more time.
Okay.
Is that 2 minutes? Do you think that's good? But do we need? Then we need 5 minutes still. Shoot, how are we gonna fit 5 minutes? I don't see how this is gonna be more than 4 minutes though. Okay. This is 6, right? I think so. 6. Scene 6. Great question, Daniel. In order to find the amount of acceleration the object experiences, we need to know the equations. Like other kinds of motion, uniform circular motion has four main qualities: time, position, velocity, and acceleration. Of these four main qualities, position is the most obvious. It's basically an object on a circular path. Velocity tells you how fast the object is moving and its direction, and that direction is not along the path of the circle. It's actually perpendicular to the radius of the circle. In other words, the tangent. The tangent is when a line only touches one point of a circle. Some cool things about physics is that you can just try this out at home for yourself. Here's a quick science experiment to see the tangential velocity. All you need is a string and some weight to tie on its end. Here we will use a monkey fist. You should also do this in a large open space to make sure no one gets hurt. Quickly turn the string so it starts to move clockwise, perpendicular to the ground. If you let go and the object is at its highest point, the object flies to the right. Reasons behind this movement is Newton's laws of motion. Minute 10, exactly.
A minute 10. I guess that's what we're using.
Okay. Is that okay for now?
Yeah.
So now for the second part.
Oh.
Oh, can you press chord on that?
Record. This is circle button.
It's the red button on the side.
Red.
Only one button for recording.